Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 60, which is typically called growth or evolution. Okay, so we've got the sun in gate 60, which is down here, coming off the very top of the root center in the middle. And then we've got the gate 56, which is in the earth, which comes off the top of the throat. So two basically opposite ends of the body graph, right? We've got the 56, which is called the storyteller, and the 60, which is evolution and growth. So the sun in gate 60 starts on January 16th and it goes until the 22nd when we'll move into the new human design year, which will be start with the gate 41 as it always does. And so this week there's no energy center definition at all in the chart. You can see all the centers are white. You might have a few connections here that connect up for you, but other than that, there's no actual definition in the chart. So no more head and ajna, no more defined solar plexus, so it should be a relatively calm week. And Uranus and Mercury are still retrograde on the 16th, but by the end of the day on the 17th, Mercury will turn direct. And so those of you who suffer or feel less certain during Mercury retrograde can breathe a sigh of relief. It will be over. So the sun in gate 60 is really all about it's also called limitation. Basically, the idea is that to evolve, we have to deal with the limitations that are in front of us to be able to evolve, right? So that we come up against an obstacle or roadblock and we say, oh, okay, how can I get through this? What's the solution? What's the mental magic that can happen? What's the inspiration that can happen? How can I get through this so that I can move on to the next goal, right? Or solution or whatever you're looking for. So it's called limitation or acceptance in the original I Ching, and it's the acceptance of limitation being the first step in transcendence. And the incarnation crosses this week are the crosses of law, limitation, and distraction. And then the 56, gate 56 is the storyteller or the seeker. It's the wanderer or stimulation in the original I Ching. It's that looking, right? It's what that evolution causes us to look for. It's, why you might be here, right? Listening to me talk about human design. It's why we're all seeking more. We're all looking for more. So they say stability through movement. It's the perpetuation of continuity through the linking of short-term activity. So basically, you tell a story, you move on. You tell a story, you get a solution. You tell a story, you get some kind of goal achieved or success in what you're doing. That stories are really important in our society and in many cultures. And it's a nice pairing with the gate 60, which is all about evolution. 56 is more about seeking and telling the stories that we need to say to get there. In the Gene Keys, distraction is the shadow, enrichment is the gift, and intoxication is the CD. And so in this Gene Key 60, we've got this shadow of limitation. The gift is realism, and the CD is justice. And the idea here is that justice is to take care of the innocent, right? To protect those who are in need. And we basically get away from that, where we feel as if the justice system may not be so fair or so efficient. And this gate is all about, as well as being about evolution. So he says in the graphic, common sense is not the opposition to magic. It's really in concert with magic. Common sense and magic work together. Basically, the limitation that we put on through this shadow is not common sense. Most of the time, that shadow of limitation sounds like, oh, I don't know if we can do that, or oh, we just don't have enough money for that, or that's not the way we do things around here, or that's not the way we've done it in the past, and we don't want to change. Those are limitations, right? You run up against those every single day. Richard calls them red tape. It's the red tape of the bureaucracy that we're having to deal with that doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good at all. And at least it doesn't feel good to most people. Some people will put up with it and they'll say, oh, well, there's a rule and I can't ignore the rule, and so they stay where they are, right? It's the stuckness of limitation. It can be really not only limiting but stifling, and it can create a basically an environment where evolution can't occur. And evolution is what we basically depend on, right? We've all evolved. We've all evolved over thousands and thousands of years. And if we can't keep evolving, then what do we have? And so this is why he calls it the gift is realism, but really it's about common sense. And common sense is the door to this magic. Because all he's saying is that by keeping our minds open, by having, as opposed to a closed circuit of limitation, having an open mind, he says, he calls it keeping the door open in our minds. That's what leads to common sense approaches, which can lead to magic. And that common sense will lead us in the direction of, oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? Have we ever tried it this way? Or what if we tried it this way? What if we did this thing that made money as opposed to spending money? How can we cover the cost? How can we get it into the budget so that it doesn't, so that it's not such a drain on our structure? And this is what these limitations are usually around, is structures like religion, economics, schools, law enforcement, all those kinds of limiting beliefs and structures, or beliefs that have become structures, is what this really is about. And so it's our job, really, to question the structures and to question the belief systems that created the structures. So that's what this is all about. He says the 60th shadow is the greatest critic of magic, right? If, we're in schools, many teachers don't want to hear about the magic, or that they don't want to hear about where we got this idea from, or these crazy ideas that might come to kids as they're behind their little desks when they really should be out playing, right? That's a structure. School is a structure. And putting 5-year-olds behind a desk is not really what they're meant to be doing. They should be out running and playing. And that it's unfortunately why a lot of kids are receiving drugs that they don't really need. They're just being kids. That's all they are. It's just kids. He also says the only thing needed for magic to occur is some form of a structure and an open mind. So again, that open-mindedness and having a little bit of an open door up there. Evolution is thwarted by this single force, the shadow of limitation. Really, it does thwart us because we can't move on. We can't find the new solutions, the new ideas, the new concepts that will allow the culture to move forward, the society to move forward, the scientific community to move forward. Living in the past or saying this is the way we've always done things is not a recipe for evolution or growth. And we thrive on growth. We all thrive on growth. If things aren't changing, it's hard to be happy. It's hard to be fulfilled. It's hard to be satisfied. So grow, evolve. It's what we're here for. I included this because since the CD is Justice, and we just celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday holiday yesterday. He said, we need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. And that, pretty much describes the highest level of evolution and growth. So there were a bunch of people born, as you can see this week, that were people who were able to use their words, use the language, basically, to move forward in what they were doing. And actually, when I read that, I was like, oh, yeah, many of these people are able to use their voices in a very specific way. Even as an actress, Betty White was able to fight for animal rights, for example. Even having Bill Maher on TV with a specific point of view, yes, but very articulate and very much, somebody who's been around for a long time, basically just spouting his opinion and making himself heard for the masses, basically. Muhammad Ali, even though he was a fighter, a heavyweight fighter, he was somebody who was very articulate and very much in the consciousness because he could articulate things that were wrong with society in a way that people listened to. Michelle Obama, Gene Davis, Edgar Allan Poe, of course, he was a poet and a writer, Benjamin Franklin, politician and so many different hats that he wore, and yet his words still live with us today, which is pretty amazing. After over 200 years, it's almost, well, over 250 years. It's a long time for his words to stay with us. And some other people's, like Susan Sontag, is still with us, and Kellyanne Conway's comments and opinions may be with us for a while also. They just have this way of becoming part of the consciousness that makes us listen and has us interested. And yes, both Bill Maher and Kellyanne Conway, by the way, are the left angle cross of distraction. So sometimes they distract in ways to so literally to distract us from other comments or commentaries or concepts that they might not want us to see. So and I just mentioned them because they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, basically, but they're both the left angle cross of distraction. So one distracts in their way and the other distracts in their way, and they both get their jobs done. So taking a look at Dolly Parton, I just thought her chart was really interesting because, and I did see her on the New Year's Eve special with her goddaughter, Miley Cyrus, and they were very entertaining. It was really a well done show, and they're both amazingly talented. And so I thought I'd just take a look at her chart. So she was born as Dolly Rebecca Parton on the fourth of 12 children, born on January 19th, 1946 in Sevierville, Tennessee, in a one-room cabin in the mountains of Tennessee. She's a generator with a 4-6 profile, so no surprise on the 4-6, right? She is a generator with just the sacral and the root defined. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Betty White has the same configuration where she just had 2 centers defined also. But Dolly does have a 4-6 profile, and she's meant to be out there. This is the only profile that is both that's transpersonal on both sides. The 4 and the 6 are both transpersonal, which means she's supposed to be out there. She's supposed to be out there with people, helping people, doing things for people, just being in the public arena and finding a way to get basically transmute the karma from previous generations. That's what the 4-6 is about. She's the right angle cross of laws, and she does have that 60 in her conscious sun, and the 56 in her conscious earth, which makes her someone who is here to evolve and grow with language in a very specific way. And the 56 is the storyteller, and so many of her songs, and she is a prolific songwriter. And there was such a list of albums that she's created that I couldn't even count them. It's something more, like thousands of songs that she's created, both for herself and for other people, which in and of itself. And she's been writing since she was a child. She's been performing since she was 10. She's been, out there and creating for a very long time. They actually said she started performing at 10 years old in 1956. So it's a long time that she's been performing, almost 60 years. So she'll be 77 years old on January 19th. So singer, songwriter, actress, businesswoman, and philanthropist, really serious philanthropist. She says, she's probably worth about $500 million. She'd be worth over $1 billion. She would be a billionaire if she didn't give away so much money. But she said she'd rather give away the money. So she's won many Grammy Awards, 11, I believe, and has sold over 100 million records. And she was recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Of course, she's been in the Country Music Hall of Fame for a long, long time. She is somebody who also created Dollywood as a businesswoman, but the philanthropy has really taken over in the past few years, especially. She created the Dolly Parton Imagination Library and has been doing that for many years now. I mean, she got an award from the Library of Congress for it in 2005, I think, for having given the 100 million book to children. This is a program where they send out books to children from birth to 5 years old. It's a total of 60 books to children, and she's given it out to many millions of children. She started it, but then she's involved communities with her to donate money. And just for example, both charities that I'm involved in my county are giving money every year, thousands of dollars, to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to be able to sustain the giving of the books to children. She actually received a $100 million award from Jeff Bezos at Amazon for the work that she's been doing in her philanthropy. Anyway, so lots of philanthropy, lots of business, lots of records, and lots of songs. She is somebody who has the sacral defined. So she's somebody, she, has the energy to go and go and go. 77 years old. She's still going strong, doing New Year's Eve specials. And she's got the root, which helps to keep her grounded and focused and somebody that people can depend on. She's very much about the responsibility there. Off the root, she's got the 60, which is about the evolution and growth, but she also has the 54, which is ambition. And that ambition obviously has kept her going. It's interesting that she has so many open centers. Yes, 7 open centers, but 4 of those have absolutely no gates coming off them. So there's kind of no filter. She's just taking in the energy all the time and creating wisdom as a result of it. So she's someone with the open head and ajna, completely no gate activation up there at all. So she's just completely open in terms of ideas and inspiration and things coming in and out. She's not a closed circuit person. She's very much open. She's very much taking in the information that comes to her. Now, she does need her quiet time. She does have the gate 33, which means that she needs some privacy and retreat, and she gets that either alone or with her husband. She allows herself that time, but then the rest of the time she's out and about. And she's creating not only the businesses, the philanthropy, but new recordings and new collaborations and working with other people. She's very good at working with others. As you can see, she's probably taking in the energy of other people and reflecting it back to them. And people love that. People feel like Dolly really gets them. And that's a nice thing. It's not quite the reflector, but it's almost that. And that's the feeling people get, that she really has their best interest at heart, and that she's easy to work with. She's very, caring and loving. She does have that gate 50 down here, which means she cares a lot for people. It's both up in her unconscious sun and I think it was, and it's down in her conscious Jupiter, which is about the blessings. It's the blessings of being able to take care of people will bring her blessings, and it does. It brings her lots and lots of money to be still working and still thriving in her chosen profession, loving it still, loving to sing, being able to sing. I mean, how many recording artists can say that they still have the same voice after 60 years of 60 plus years of performing, right? And so so she has I'll just mention a lot of gates coming off the throat. She's got the gate 62, which she actually has, I think I counted 4 times in her chart. 4 times, yes. The 62 is the gate of details. So Dolly Parton, if nothing else, is detailed. She knows what's going on. She runs the businesses herself. She has a lot of people to help her. She's very good at collaborating. She's a very good businesswoman and employer, but she collaborates with people. She's very good at that. I mean, just look at the songs she's done with Kenny Rogers, for example. And her first collaboration was with Porter Wagoner, who had a TV show and did songs, and she collaborated with him. She was on the show as a regular, and then created like 10 albums with him. That was the start of her career. And so she's been very, very good at collaborations all throughout her life. The songwriting that she does, a lot of those songs have gone on to sell millions and millions of records. by other artists. And that was okay with her. She was totally fine with that. And she also did an album with Linda Ronstadt and one or two other artists, which was very, very successful in the 90s. So she's good at collaborating. She's good at finding ways to work with other people. And even though she's got the open throat, she's got a number of things coming off here. So she's got the details. She's got the 56 of the storyteller. She's got the 35, which is all about change. And we also call it the jack of all trades. So she likes changing things up. She likes being different, but she likes being good at what she does, at least at a lot of different things. So she's not only just good at singing and songwriting, she's got those other tools in her pocket also for being a businesswoman, running a philanthropy, running Dollywood, running a bunch of restaurants and dinner theaters and all kinds of things that she's created, mostly in the Nashville and surrounding areas to help the economy, to help the poor, to help children, all kinds of things like that. She got the 12, which is the channel of caution of your reputation, about your reputation. And she has been cautious about her reputation. There have been no scandals in Dolly Parton's life. She's been married to her husband since she was 20. So they have a long-lived marriage and no children, but they have had a very, they've been together all this time, and he's her rock. If she ever needs a rock. She probably doesn't need a rock very often, but when she does, he's there. The 45 is the gate of the queen, which fits nicely. 33, as I said, is the gate of privacy and retreat. So she does need some quiet time every day. She's got the 1 coming off the top of the G center. And that, again, no surprise there. That's the gate of making a creative contribution to the world, which she has. The 10 is all about love of the self, but on the higher, once you love yourself, then you can basically empower others with that love, because loving yourself allows other people to love themselves. And so she does that. She's very empowering to people. A lot of her songs are very empowering. They're very uplifting. A lot of them are about love from almost every angle imaginable. And she does that. And then, of course, it's no surprise that she also has the 15, which is the love of humanity. And she's got that both conscious and unconscious in her chart as well. The love of humanity, the gate of extremes. So she's somebody who can do things without a necessary schedule. She is in a schedule, as far as I understand it, from eating and sleeping and what she eats, exercise, but the rest of it, she flies off for the New Year's Eve get together in Miami Beach, and then she's back doing other stuff. So there's she has the energy, and she's able to use it in relatively extreme ways still at this point in her life. More than that, it's a big aura. It's a love of humanity. It's being able to, or wanting to, take care of people because she loves everybody. She may not particularly like everybody, but she definitely loves everybody. And she wants other people to know that also. So no gates coming off. So she's taking in energy from the emotional solar plexus, in the will center, in the head and the ajna, all without any gates filtering that. And she, and what that usually means is that she can be very, very wise. In most of these gates, she can be very wise. And so, for example, with the open G, she can really understand people at a deep level when she's with them. She understands their willfulness or their ego. It doesn't bother her that other people have bigger egos than she does. She keeps telling people, stop making statues, stop giving me awards, stop, I don't need all this. And especially during COVID, she just wouldn't have it. She didn't want any of those accolades. She basically turned down the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at first. She said, why would you be giving me an award? I'm not rock and roll. She eventually did accept it, but reluctantly. She's not somebody with a big ego, and not somebody with a lot of emotion. She's pretty even keeled when it comes to that. And with the spleen, she's got the gate 48, which is really getting to know things at a deep level, and probably it's also a fear of inadequacy, and so she might have feared sometimes. It's just a caution light, really. Doesn't stop her, but it will have her look both ways, make sure she's doing everything she needs to do before she starts something new. That 50 is the gate of caring and values. It's very much about the values of her own area where she grew up, and making sure that they stay intact. The gate 18 is all about correction and editing and improving. And so, for example, with the Dolly imagination, the imagination library, she's all about improving the literacy of children. She was very much aware of that because her father could not read or write. And so she wanted to make sure that, but she very much admired her father and thought he was the smartest person she'd ever known, especially when it came to business. But she didn't want, but she wanted children to be able to read and write. And so the best way she knew how was to start this imagination library where every child would be getting the book from birth on to 5 years old, so that they had a library of 60 books by the time they were 5 years old. And it's just, talk about an imagination, right? It's such a wonderful way to help children to learn to read, and to help their parents be able to help them learn to read. And it's just a big idea that came to fruition for her. So that's Dolly Parton. A lot of openness, a lot of wisdom in the head and ajna, wisdom in the throat, and knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it. In the G, with understanding people at a really deep level. The will center, understanding their willfulness, their egos, their challenges, competitiveness. She's not really a competitive person, but she's very understands competitiveness and how it shows up. She understands other people's emotions, and she understands their wanting to be intuitive. She herself probably is very intuitive, I suspect, with that open spleen, and is able to use it to the best of her abilities. And she keeps going with that sacral and root defined. She's got 2 motors, and that's it. And so I expect Dolly Parton, as I say, just to march into the grave. So happy birthday, Dolly. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Figure out what it is this year that you want to evolve and grow into. How do you want to change? What words can you use that would change the way you're thinking about things? How much of an open mind you have, and how much are you willing to leave the door open a little bit when it comes to your mind, and coming up with new ideas and new concepts, and not taking, we don't have the money for as a reason for not doing something, or that's not the way we do it, or don't know how to do it. There's loads of ways to learn how to do things these days, and the more we all take advantage of those ways, the better we'll feel. So have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Be well.